Well, hello. We are happy to be here in the new year. I just want to wish everyone a happy 2025. We are back in effect. If you haven't, tuned into the show before, I am Steph, the Educator. This is Essential Pedagogy, and it's a podcast to help insiders and outsiders of education understand one another more. Um, I was inspired to educate not only students, which I've been doing for the last 22 years, but parents. Over the pandemic, I had many people be really confused about our education system in America and need assistance. And so it really helped me have more compassion for parents. I do know education can be like a foreign language, really a foreign entity to a lot of people. And once an understanding is, shared, then people normally act like we got some sense inside and outside of education. So I just want to remind people that I'm on many platforms, but the platform that means the most to me right now is YouTube. So I do have a YouTube channel called Essential Pedagogy, and I'd love for you to find me there and subscribe. That would help me. If you have any questions, then also you can post questions on YouTube or on the show if you're seeing it live. But without further ado, I have a guest, y'all. I always am looking for men in education and always trying to get their perspective because it's a woman-dominated profession. So I want to talk to Mr. Lonnie Johnson the second, and to get his perspective. Now, our topic today, we're going to be talking about safety in the classroom, safety for all, not just for children, but for all. And one of the things that I'd like to talk about is cameras in the classroom and whether you guys feel like that offers safety or not. Before we get there, though, I want to talk to you, Lonnie, and have you introduce yourself to the audience and tell everyone, what your background is in education, how many years you've been in education, what's your specialty, and all that.
All right, so thank you for having me today. Like I said, my name is Lonnie Johnson the second. In my classroom, I go by Mr. Johnson, or people know me as a football coach or a baseball coach as Coach Johnson. Really a little bit of my background. I grew up in Dallas, Texas, born and raised. Got my high school diploma at North Mesquite High School in Mesquite. Went out to had a little journey in college. I went to like a community college at first. Went to Richland. Was there for a semester. Didn't do so well. Took a little semester off. Went to Eastfield for 2 years. Did pretty good at Eastfield. Went to Stephen F. Austin for a year. Didn't do so well at Stephen F. Austin. Got kicked out for one whole year. Came back home. Took a few classes at Eastfield. Went right back to Stephen F. Austin and got my degree. When I got my degree, thank you. It was definitely a journey. I tell everybody, there's no such thing as a 4-year plan. Believe in the 6 to 7 year plan as well too. So, but I got my degree in the sports business. So when I first got my degree, I did a lot of internships with a lot of a professional like hockey team and rugby team in the area. I did a lot of community work as well too. When it comes to community relations with the rugby team, I did a lot of marketing as well too. When it came to the hockey team as well, so I did a lot of experience in that when it comes to like a like a social work environment. And I think what kind of made me step into the classroom was one of my friends noticed one day how I interact with certain kids, especially me working at the YMCA once I left college. Went right to the YMCA and I was working with like a lot of like 8 to 12 and 13-year-old kids. And they noticed how a lot of those kids were interacting with me when it comes to like the enjoyment in their face, or they kind of knew me as a referee or one of the coordinators on the campus. So when my friends picked that up, he's like, "Hey, you need to try to step in the classroom, see how that is." Normally, that I never had, how you say, an idea of being in the classroom. It's more kind of like on the coaching aspect.
Mhm.
I started off as a substitute teacher at Mesquite. I went back to my old alma mater at New Mesquite High School, started being a substitute, and I think they put me on full time in, I want to say, April. I guess they saw a lot of the kids, you know what I'm saying, like gravitating towards me, and they kind of like liked the work I did, so they kind of put me on full time on the campus. I was one of those like full time substitutes where like if a teacher wasn't there, I was basically filling for the classroom and I taught the class.
Yeah, you were like floater. Like if they
Yeah.
needed you in a pinch, you were there.
Yeah, so there was one area I'll never forget where one of the teachers, he was a ninth grade, I believe it was algebra or geometry, it was one of those. But it was like an advanced course, it's like an advanced course for ninth graders.
Mhm.
He was out for a whole month because he had some type of like a last minute surgery that he had to kind of go through and a lot of procedures. And I remember where he asked me to step in and take over his classroom for a whole month. In my head, I'm like, oh, so I got to teach these kids math? I was like, I gotta teach y'all math. I said, okay, okay. So I kind of sat down, and I remember like before the class started, or like even like days prior, I just sat down over the lesson plan real quick, kind of make sure I got everything in order.
Mhm.
So when they asked me questions, this was basically I could explain it to them.
Mhm.
And I think it definitely, I think as time went on, a lot of those kids started like a principal saw me doing that, and he thought I was the actual teacher. He forgot I was a substitute.
Wow.
Yeah, so they offered me a position at that time. Cause they wanted me to come back, but at that time I didn't have my certification
Mhm.
because I was still a substitute.
Alt cert. You had to do alt cert.
Yeah,
Mhm.
so I went to DISD. DISD hired me as a full time to be. Last year I was a physics teacher.
Mhm.
Physics was pretty well, you know what I'm saying? Definitely math and science. I mean, math and science, in my opinion. A lot of algebra.
Yeah.
Teaching kids so breaking down a lot of the analogy and basically a lot of the I say a lot of traits of how science and physics works together in today's society.
Mhm.
And that was pretty good experience for me. Like I said, but now this year I'm actually teaching social studies and science now for seventh graders. So it was a transition at first because going from physics to social studies was definitely a huge jump. And that's
Mhm.
something this is social studies like more like historic events and dates.
Okay. And
And
eighth grade or
seventh
seventh,
grade, seventh
seventh
grade,
grade. So that's
seventh.
Texas history, right?
Yes, ma'am. So Texas history kind of like a little bit easy to teach a little bit because like a lot of historic events and dates and names. But at the
Mhm.
same time, like I tell about it as being a teacher, even though it's easy for you, how
Yeah.
can you get the kids to understand it?
Or even
Th-
interested. Like, what
Yeah,
do you care
interesting.
about the Alamo?
Man, listen, when I was that age, I didn't care about the Alamo. I just knew the date and just remember to put the date down.
Yeah.
But that's a little bit of my background when it comes to how I got into the teaching field, and I guess like just seeing the enjoyment behind the kids now. Each time they see me every day from my class, they be like, you know what I'm saying, seeing that Coach Johnson, Mr. Johnson, you know what I'm saying, engaging, and it's like I said, it's definitely been enjoyment to, you know what I'm saying, being in a classroom education.
Good, good. So, from your perspective, what do you see as far as improvements that can be made in the classroom as far as safety is concerned? What are some of the things you're in DISD, right?
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah. What are some of the things of safety precautions have they implemented here lately?
Really, we just had at my school, we just had like a meeting about like oh, excuse me, about classroom behavior and bullying.
Okay.
And a lot of concerns we had was basically more about what are the procedures in place for the kids if one of these rules are broken.
Mm-hmm.
And I think sometimes as being the teacher, we forget that we also have the power as well too to apply those procedures as well.
Mm-hmm.
Everything don't I understand certain things do fall on the admin,
Yeah.
but as teachers, we also have that type of authority as well to what procedure are you going to hold for these kids as well too.
Yeah.
And I think a lot of times some, I guess, being around with these something like, you know what I'm saying, around the teachers, we forget that we have that type of power.
Mm.
We
Yeah.
forget that we have that authority. And sometimes that some of us do, you know what I'm saying, stand on it. But
Hmm.
sometimes a lot of us try to reach out to the admin and be like, something real small, like let's say somebody just talking out loud in class.
Yeah.
That's something that you should handle as in your classroom
Yeah.
compared to taking it up to the admin.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And definitely, I know when you have kids talking out of turn, a lot
Mm-hmm.
of times they're not directing it at the instructor; they are
Mm-hmm.
directing it at other students, and so then
Yeah.
you can have situations where there's bullying and things like
Mm-hmm.
that. In the last, I guess, year or so, we've seen, a little uptick in violence, and
Yes.
some in the classroom, some by adults, but definitely some by students.
Yeah.
So I had participated in a chat kind of recently, and it had people from all walks of life that may have an interest in education, which we all do, right?
Mm-hmm.
Um, if we look at it from a standpoint of our society and education feeding our future workers in America, um, we have to all have an interest in it. So this chat was open to the public, and a lot of people felt like teachers had the power to determine whether cameras were in the classroom. Um, and you said teachers do have a lot of power when it comes to the authority in their classroom and their
Mm-hmm.
classroom climate, but we
Mm-hmm.
do not have authority over overarching big rules and laws that
Yeah.
are
Yeah.
executed. Like we just don't have the power. If they decide to have cameras in the classroom, there's not in the hallway. There's nothing we can do about it.
Mm-hmm.
Um, in my opinion, I feel like cameras are not in the classroom because there's a lot of privacy issues. Like I feel like parents want cameras in the classroom like it's doggy daycare, and they get to watch their doggy or their child. And I'm not trying to insinuate a child is a dog. I'm just saying, as a example, people have dogs in doggy daycare, and they
Mm-hmm.
watch their dogs through a camera on their phone. But that's just not how something we can execute in the school system. Yes, we have cameras in the hallway, but they're not for the general public use.
Yeah.
They are for review by admin to see what's
Mm-hmm.
going down in hallways,
Yeah.
or by officer officials to see if a crime was committed. But
Mm-hmm.
um, for it to be in the classroom in a way that people are wanting it to be executed, um, that's not going to happen, I don't believe, because of the privacy of people who have um, uh, like protection of their identity
Mm-hmm.
through the feds, or if children have sensitive custody issues, things like that. Uh,
Mm-hmm.
those kind of privacy issues cannot be exposed to just any and everybody publicly, right?
Mm-hmm.
So,
Definitely.
how people want things to function is not always lawful. What are your thoughts?
Well, when it comes to cameras in the classroom, first, I'm gonna lie. I think if we do have if there was cameras in the classroom, a lot of teachers would be teachers right now. If I'm being honest, a lot. I feel like it'd be definitely be a drop off of teachers, probably not, what I'm saying, in the classroom, just because of, I know certain teachers have certain behaviors when how they react to certain things in the classroom.
Hmm.
Like they might, what I'm saying. I think being a teacher, we hold ourselves to higher standards because like we are the example of how we supposed to be, how it's supposed to be when it comes to running the classroom. I
Hmm.
think sometimes we break our composure, or when we kind of like break our character. Because like I said, sometimes I'll be real. Certain kids might say certain things or do certain things where we have to, what I'm saying, snap out, snap back in.
Yeah.
And I think when it comes, like I said, security, like basically cameras in the classroom, it definitely is like more of a security thing. Like I said, I don't really agree with having that type of like extra eyes in the room.
Hmm.
Cause like I said, cause now, like I said, they gonna start seeing certain things where like you said, you're gonna see certain kids gonna be in more trouble now because they're doing certain things they're not supposed to be doing.
Yeah. A lot of
Yes.
parents feel like it's I gotcha for the teacher. And yes, in every profession, you have people not being professional.
Mm.
But it's more so that people are going to be appalled by a lot of student behavior,
Yes.
right?
Yes.
Um,
Yes.
like there were the woman who got her eye knocked out by the student throwing chairs and hangers and stuff
Hmm.
like that in the classroom. There's a lot more of that going on in school than is publicized on the news. And so, I really don't believe the general public is ready to see all of that. And I think it would create outrage, not just
I,
because teacher behavior, but because overall public behavior.
yeah. I think, like I said, it's gonna be a lot of, like I said, it's definitely gonna be like the school system is definitely gonna be like. I feel like you're gonna see a lot of schools on the news every single day when it like if that happened. When it comes,
Oh,
like I said, just the general public behavior when it comes to certain things.
mhm.
Like I said, because I know at my school we having issues right now with vaping, and kids walking around selling vapes. So
Mm,
just imagine like if you go, you know what I'm saying, I have cameras in the classroom. Like I said, they already see that in the hallway already. But if you go there and have that in the classroom, now it's like now you're kind of wearing down the issue, like kind of going to the issue now. It's like okay, now it's their safety, now it's their, like I said, their identity now being changed now because of the cameras in the classroom. Now I said
so,
it will also be a beneficial thing. Like I said, because now those kids will be, you know, what I'm saying, having breaking those type of laws now. Now I say now you hold them accountable now.
mhm,
But like I said, but also be a con as well too. Like I said, and now just their identity being, you know what I'm saying, changed or affected now.
yeah. So, do you guys have like vape sensors in your restroom?
No, we do not. So I got a good nose. I got a real good nose. So
Under nose.
yeah, like when I smell something, like okay, like it's like I
I
like
we
before.
have vape sensors, so the kids were getting popped with them left and right in the bathroom. So they try to do it in the hall, but they have cameras too. So,
Mm,
um, but yeah, it's not as big as a problem as it used to be because usually they would go to the restroom as a safe haven to go vape.
mm.
Um, but they don't do that as much now. But yeah, it's a lot. Oh, safety guidelines. Yeah, there are a lot of safety guidelines based on grade level or like secondary. I would say a lot of segregation of different safety guidelines is based on whether you're secondary in a smaller school, I mean, secondary in a larger school, or primary in a smaller school, and the age groups. Like in I think there's a certain age group that the children can pick the restroom they go to. Like we can't say you have to go to the boys' bathroom if you were born with the penis, or you can't go to the we can't dictate you go to the girls' bathroom if you were born with a vagina after I think it's 14. So yeah, a lot of laws is age specific. Um, and sometimes people don't know this. So what we do is give a safe haven of a restroom to be the nurse's restroom instead of subjecting children to certain belief systems that is executable by law. Um, so yeah, it's an interesting world out there.
It's
It's
very
an
it,
interesting world.
it is.
It is. And
Yeah.
in recent news, we've had a lot of terrorist type behavior. Um, what safety implementations? Y'all have to keep your doors locked and closed, right, while you're teaching.
Yeah.
Um,
No, no, no. When we tease now, our doors are wide open.
oh, really?
Yeah,
Okay.
they I don't like that because I feel like I done been in situations before where guns and all that stuff played a factor, and
Okay, so I didn't know that. And like in
yeah,
our district, while we're teaching, our doors are to be closed and shut. And they, especially when we find out in the news that a child leaves a classroom and tries to re-enter with like a firearm, and
Yeah.
was not let in, and it saved lives because he was not let in with
Hmm.
the firearm, and the door was locked. If it was unlocked, then yeah, it it is it's hard to believe, but that a lot of times threats are within.
Yeah.
Yeah, and there are lots of different ways kids can get around things. Um, do you guys have metal detectors at your door?
Yeah. So every morning, our kids go through a metal detector every morning
Okay.
before they come to the school. I
Yeah.
remember there was an incident we had at the beginning of the school year where I don't know if you remember there was like a lot of like death threats going around and DISD with like high schools and like middle schools on the list. I have like a school shootout at this certain time.
Mm-hmm.
And one of our students, he actually posted, he like 12 or 13, posted his weapon on his social media page and saying that he would come to our school
Mm-hmm.
and you know what I'm saying, shoot the school up. And we done dealt that him that. But like I said, that's where I feel like the procedures that we have is not strong enough because that kid's still walking the hallways at our school.
Whew. Um, we've had definitely even recently to the point where we all had to play during advisory. And I don't know if y'all have advisory, but we have
Yeah.
advisory time where we have to give social lessons and just career path lessons that kids can take. We my our superintendent had to record um, a message about threatening schools and threatening other people, and things that you cannot say, because those are things that can get you put into alternative schools,
Yeah.
right? Or into JJ, like
Mhm.
depending on how severe and what they find out once they do investigations. Oh my gosh. Um, a lot of threats are within.
It really is.
Yeah, teachers firearms are not permitted on campus. So, no, teachers are not permitted to protect themselves with their own firearms at in the school. I will say that since Texas is Texas, people have firearms in their car.
Hmm.
That's all I got to say about
Stand your ground.
that.
Stand your ground.
Well, yeah, and that one reason why I have my car keys around my neck is because if there's an evacuation, we can't go back into the building. Miss Powell going home. Me, I was going home. I have my house keys, my car keys on my lanyard. I
Is
don't
it?
just have my school keys, because if we can't go back into the building, and it's crazy that you have to think like that, but in emergent situations, you gotta really think: am I gonna be able to run and go get my purse? Am I gonna be able
Yeah.
to run and go get my car keys that I left on my desk? So I just
Yeah.
attach it to my lanyard.
I have mine in my pockets at all time.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
like I said, I know for me, because
So
I
it's
know my
not
classroom. Yeah, I know my classroom. I'm right by like the exit, like the emergency exit.
mm-hmm.
So I ain't gonna lie to everybody. Um, mm. If
Yeah.
I hear we had a situation about that last year where we was on a lockdown last year,
Mm-hmm.
and like we had no warning, no nothing, and like we didn't know what was going on,
Yeah.
and like I guess the way the admin handled that situation, it could have been
Mm-hmm.
a little bit different, but I guess in the tone of voice in our head, we're like, oh man, like we on actual lockdown,
Mm-hmm. This is not
and
a drill. We had one of
yeah,
those too.
yeah,
And really, it was the district had sent security people to work on our security system while the kids were there, and they tripped the system, and it forced us into a lockdown, and nobody knew. Like normally, if it's some kind of drill, somebody on campus the person in the know knows, and you emailing or texting them, and you're saying, hey, is this a drill? What's going on? What's going on? Nobody knew what was going on. The kids were terrified. it was triggering, and it
Yeah.
was a little bit of a trauma, because we just know the truth about sometimes what happens, unfortunately, that is really a phenomenon in the American education system.
Yeah, I think the worst part for me on that situation last year, because we didn't know what was going on. I had kids like asking me, like literally, like we was on. I had my room was locked down, everything. I had kids asking me, "So are we gonna die?" I said, Shh, "Man, I said let's just." I said,
Oh,
let's. I said let's. I said that's. I said we ain't gonna speak about it. I ain't gonna speak right now. Let's just pray. Let's just pray and just manifest. And my main thing at that time was like just calming them down. Cause
yeah,
like I said, 'cause they was more worried about. You could just tell. You could tell in their eyes. You could tell in their eyes like they actually had fear and like I'm like, man, like let's just pray and just make sure we just make sure like everything's gonna be all right. Y'all stay quiet. You know what I'm saying? There's no sudden movements. And like I said, I know for me as a teacher at that time, it's like I gotta be on the lookout. It's like I gotta be the main one. Like I have to put my kids in certain areas and all in the room. And I got a back room. As a science, we got like a back room.
yeah,
So
the storage area with all the like flask and all that.
yeah, so I put a lot of my kids like in that back room right there. Somebody said just so like they come in, they can't like the doors already locked already to that back room.
Hmm.
So the only way for them to get to that door is like you need a key, and I got the key to it.
Yeah.
So it's like yeah, so that was trust me, like that was the first time like in the school district in a minute. I'm like okay, I gotta be in survival mode now.
Hmm.
Yeah,
I
so
think a lot of people see educators as the enemy in a lot of different situations because people will highlight or take the time to highlight only negative stories out of the millions of positive things that teachers offer.
mm,
But I do not believe that the general public really grasp how, if you're an educator that care and you're in there every day, how scary some of these emergency situations are for you, because you are there for a reason and you're not going to let anybody hurt any of the kids, just because you're their protector.
yeah,
You're there to serve them and you're there to protect them. And I don't believe people really understand just um how serious a lot of educators take that, and how much trauma we take by um being in situations that it could not be, it could be an emergency or it could not be, but we don't know. And all we're there is trying to be a leader to keep everybody positive and calm, but we're just as scared.
yeah, yeah. I agree. I do agree. Like I said, because people don't understand like we got lives too outside the classroom. And like I said, we got families and we got loved ones, husbands, wives, boyfriends, girlfriends, things like that. And the same way how a lot of these parents care about their children's well beings, a lot of our peers care about our well being as well too. And
Mhm.
that's why I think sometimes as being an educator, we do get looked upon as like a negative in the light sometimes because you do see, I mean, being around there's probably teachers out there who really don't have that passion or don't want to like put into the kids sometimes.
Mhm.
I think that's where the negative light comes from. But the teachers are actually there for a beneficial, where like they want to improve the kids and want to improve their knowledge and their education. Like make the kids know that education is not in the classroom. Education is everywhere. Like
Mhm.
it's everywhere in the world. Like when it comes to like communication, literature, imagination, all of that comes to education.
Yeah, creativity.
Yeah, so we as educators we try to put that into the kids, like I said, and we put so much into them. It's like you don't see a lot of the positives when it comes to the educator sometimes.
Okay,
You
so we
used to
got
see,
a question though. We were talking about how like drills are scary, and sometimes kids maybe sometimes contemplating doing negative things like being the threat to the school. And a question came through about how do educators stay ahead of the game if it's their school. And you know what? I really believe if you're doing your job effectively, there's no way that you don't know whether a kid is being ostracized or is being extra quiet, or um, if you're greeting your students every day at the door, there's just no way you don't know something is bothering a child.
Mm-hmm.
No way. Like
Yeah.
I take it upon myself to stand at the door. Now I get my steps going back and forth to my desk and to the door and to people's seats and things like that. So every class period, before class period, during passing period, I'm in the hall between the hallway and my doorway, and I'm greeting my students as they come in. I'm not just monitoring the hall. I'm saying, "Hey, Sally, how you doing? What's wrong?" You know, if their eyes look red, if they look like they're upset, then I'm taking it upon myself to kind of see what's going on with them at the door. That way, if somebody gets emotionally charged and they find that they cannot um, control their emotion, or do not know a a healthy way of expressing themselves, then I am right there and understanding about what their base norm is. If some kids are just quiet and that's
Yeah.
their norm, but
Yeah.
some kids, if you know they're not normally quiet and they don't look themselves, then you having that rapport with them every day and saying, "Are you really okay? Because I've noticed that you look different," right? It goes
Mm-hmm.
a long way. And so some of the things that go down in other classrooms don't go down in my class because I had that rapport with my students.
Yeah. So that's probably the same thing for me as well too. Every day I make sure I greet my kids right before they walk in. I give my kids a fist bump. I ask how the day been going so far, and how the morning been. And I guess once you give that energy to them, they're gonna give you energy right back. Like, I got kids that tell me every morning, good morning, coach." You know what I'm saying? Just things like how your day been, how your morning, things like that, because I done build up that relationship with them. We're like, so I know when they're going through something, they're like, they'll ask me, like, I said, "Sir, can I step out the room real quick? Sir, can I talk to you on the side real quick?" They're going through like some type of situation where, like I said, if a kid might want to do something to them outside of school, they come and tell me about certain situations like
Yeah,
that. So
yeah,
it's all about building that type of relationship where I say you got to know your kids, you got to understand your kids.
yeah, you do. You do.
Mm,
And so that's some of the things that we can do without, feeling like we have to have weapons in the classroom or even cameras in the classroom.
yeah.
Um, just having a rapport with your students go a long, long way. Are there any things that you like to like highlight and talk about that may, um, maybe gender specific for a man teacher or even a black man teacher, that feel like you have to watch out for, or be careful of, or it's just unique to you being a male teacher? Is there
I
any?
think I think with me being a male black teacher, it's definitely a lot of, it's pros and cons to it. It's definitely the pros are, you know what I'm saying, a lot of kids to respect you when you come to the classroom. You hold that dominance, your aura. Basically you have that confidence when you kind of step into your classroom. A lot of the cons behind it. Now, what I do say, and as for me being a middle school teacher, you gotta make sure these kids respect your boundaries, boys and girls.
Hmm.
Girls, sometimes I know they be going to their homerooms and they be kind of like, you know what I'm saying? When they get too comfortable to a teacher, I just seen it before. They get too comfortable,
Hmm.
they try to talk, turn the teacher a certain way, or they trying to get real close. I'm like, no, 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 no. This the boundary.
Yeah.
This is where we're at right here. This is where we at. And
Hmm.
like I said, because I had a lot of my peers, especially like my older peers, they came across me to myself, "You a very attractive man. I know, you know what I'm saying. People kind of come across sometime." And I said they do, but at the same time, you had that boundary as well too. Like, let them know, like, hey, you're the student. I'm the middle teacher at the end of the day.
Yeah.
That's where we is. That's where you're gonna stand at.
Yeah.
And I think a lot of things I do like though, is like I said, just having that type of, for kids, you have to give respect to them to make them respect you. You
Hmm.
have to give respect to them because, like I said, where I teach in Oak Cliff. A lot of
Okay.
kids, yeah, a lot of kids don't have that type of father figure or that role model figure, and they don't know how to hold themselves accountable. They don't know how to communicate. They don't know how to respect authority. And I feel like sometimes as being a male teacher, you have to give certain kids that type of respect to make them feel comfortable enough with you where they respect you right back.
Mm-hmm.
Like
You think it's
kids, like
harder for a male teacher to get that respect or a female teacher?
is it harder for a male teacher or a female teacher?
Mm-hmm.
I feel like
And
speaking
your
from a male,
demographics, what are your demographics in Oak Cliff? Is it mostly Hispanic,
oh,
Black?
we're like 93, 94% Hispanics.
Okay. Okay.
Yes, we are definitely heavy Hispanics.
Okay.
Heavy. Yeah. Um, I get to speak from me as a
Mm-hmm.
male perspective. I feel like it might be a little bit more easier to have that type of respect as like I said, a younger man in his like late 20s, about to be 30s. From a
Mm-hmm.
female perspective, I feel like that I've seen where seen a lot of my peers, especially in the classroom, they got to put their foot down. That's their type of respect to get that respect. So I
Yeah.
do kind of say it's kind of like they both have equal respects, but I see that as a male perspective and a woman perspective, is two completely different things how to get their respect.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
Like women have to take their authority.
yeah,
Guys would usually build the rapport to
yeah,
to get the respect. Women will have
yeah,
to really,
yeah,
be
yeah.
authoritative in order to get the respect. That's interesting.
Yeah. So what grade do you say you teach? I teach seventh grade science and social studies,
Yeah.
Texas
Okay.
history.
Ah. How you been doing with that new curriculum in science?
Oh man,
My butt, man.
it's definitely it's definitely a little challenging just
Mm-hmm.
because you have to like they got everything set up for you right there, but you gotta find your resources though for us. Like you
Mm-hmm.
got to find the PowerPoints, find worksheets that actually
Yeah.
align to
How to
it. That
actually make the PowerPoints and things for it.
Yeah, that align to it. Now with social studies, it's completely different. Social studies is like they got the worksheets, everything right there lined up for you already. So all you gotta do is basically put everything on Google Classroom. Everything's right there.
Mm-hmm.
For like I said, on the science perspective, it's definitely a little more challenging. It's more time prepping that you have to do on your own end. So I said, especially on the weekend or like I said, sometime after school to get that lesson ready for the next day.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Oh, so we have a question about AI, like with the curriculum and everything. Like, yes, AI is there. AI is not a human, and you got to give them every little thing. Like seventh grade level is not necessarily seventh grade level of what AI would think seventh grade level science would be,
Thank
right?
you.
So you have to
Thank
be
you.
so specific and say,
Thank you.
I need this seventh grade topic written on a fifth grade level. I need all this specific write up that you can just do it yourself.
Yeah.
But with all of the specific details, you got to feed into AI to get what you want.
Yeah.
There's some AI platforms that are for education, and maybe I'll talk about that too. And they're getting better and better with time, but it's still like, people say, oh, AI is going to replace educators. No, it's not.
Is not.
All it takes
Um,
is for some
yes.
in person to come into the classroom and say, now you use AI.
Yes. I don't.
See how it
Yeah.
works. Yeah. Right.
I done use AI before trying to find a tick. When I said that was the most complicated thing I seen, I'm like, man, like this is. I think I did something one day. I forgot what tick it was, but it did not align to the lesson. It did not
Yeah.
align to it, and I'm
Yeah.
like, man, like
You
y'all
gotta
give
be
me something
very,
completely
very
different.
careful.
Yeah.
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 You gotta be very, very careful. It's just not as simple as people make it out to be. And me being an expert at the learning cycle, I just know that if a child is not familiar with some of the vocabulary, you can hang it up. Everything has to line up right where they have a definite, clear understanding at the beginning. Otherwise, if the language is too high level, and it's easy to do in science for it to be
Yes.
high level. You can say phenomenon, but if you don't, they have never gotten the definition of phenomenon. They don't know what you're talking about.
I
Most
don't.
people don't know what you're talking about. I had somebody ask me was it today? What is phenomenon? you know? So it's an observable fact. And, you can say observable fact, or you can say it's a phenomena. But, people sing about things and they say things that they really don't know what the meanings are. And so you have to be very careful with AI. It's just our jobs are not as easy as people would make it out to be. And I would just, say that in some aspects, AI can make it easier, but most times it just makes it more complicated. When I'm like, you know what, I can just knock out this little worksheet right here and create it myself.
Man, listen, I could take 30 minutes on my day to make a PowerPoint. I'm
Yeah,
perfectly fine with that. Yeah,
yeah, yeah. And
yeah,
sometimes, it's not always that simple with just making a PowerPoint in 30 minutes. Like things have to, because just, and then you, for your non-English speakers, then you have to do some translating and translate the same information in the different language. And it's a lot. And then making sure your translations are saying what you wanted to say, because sometimes things get lost in translation. I mean, I've
yeah,
had a parent tell me that I did something, but actually she was saying something was done all day. But what she said to me in English was that I've been doing something all day to him. And I'm like, he only got me for 45 minutes. I don't know how I can do it all day. Right? Like, how can
yeah,
I do it all day? But
yeah.
doing the parent square, I don't know if you guys have any parent communications like uh billboards or some type of, I guess it's a social platform
We,
of
I know certain teachers we use talking point. I think talking points. We
talking
use
points. Okay.
talking
We
points.
we
Yeah,
have parent square. And so whatever we say can be translated
mm,
in the through the parent square application. And so I had to go to my Spanish speaking counselor to really get some clarification on both ends, because she was like, I'm ready to come up to the school. And I was like, I ain't did nothing to your child. Like, and what was happening? So I was like, if you want to talk some more, let's just talk, right? Let's come up to,
yeah,
come up to the school. So
yeah,
yeah, a lot of things can get lost in translation. And so we have to we just have to be careful about what AI gives us. That's all. Okay, so what are the top 3 things would you say teachers need for safety requirements in 2025? Um, ooh. Like, I don't know if we can execute this all in 2025, and I don't know what your thoughts are about this, Lonnie, but I think one of the things for safety precautions is that students need to have their ID and it needs to be magnetized for them to be able to open the restroom. I think that's a big deal.
yeah,
That
yeah.
way, there's no question of who was in the restroom, who jumped you,
Hmm.
who had the vape. If your ID got you in that bathroom and that vape was in there when you were in that bathroom, it's
Yeah,
highly likely you had the vape. So I just feel like that is a safety issue. That's a safety precaution. Also, if someone was to come into a school and with a firearm or some kind of device, that they won't easily go into the restroom and trap a kid in the restroom because they're locked. And I know a lot of people don't like that idea, but if we bring our IDs to school every day, which you're supposed to, then you should be able to get into the restroom. So, or we can just quarantine a little section off if the restrooms are down or dirty or nasty or something like that. So, I think that's one of the things. I think teachers being vigilant in making sure that they have a rapport with their students to know whether something's going down. Not just saying, "Oh, are you okay?" but in the classroom, what is the dynamics? Do you see that so and so always has something to say about this other kid? And people can go off on persistent teasing. And so you just want to make sure that um, visibly students see that you're coming to their defense.
yeah. Coming to the aid.
Yeah,
Yeah,
coming to their aid on
yeah.
some things, and you're not being a bystander when things are happening to them that is being hurtful, right? So I think
Hmm.
that's a safety issue. I think just always being aware of people in your building. Like if I see a stranger in my building, I'm saying, hello, good morning. Can I help you find a place? Where are you looking for a place specific? Usually it's the same people I'm working with, the
Yeah.
same janitors and same repair people. But they're just people don't know this, but we have plumbers that we employ, electricians that we employ. These people are in and out of the schools all the time. If I don't recognize you, I'm going to say, "Hey, good morning. How you doing? Hey,
Mm-hmm.
how can I help you find a place? What are you looking for? You looking for the library? Um, can I help you in any kind of way?" I feel like that deters people from uh, being froggy,
Mm-hmm.
and a lack of a better word, and just being aware of what's going down. Because I would hate for something to go down and then say, I saw that man, I never said anything, or I saw that person and I just thought they were here for this. But if
Yeah.
you don't inquire, you can knock somebody off of a negative gain by just being friendly and
Mm-hmm.
inquiring, how can I help you? Right.
Yeah.
So I
Yeah.
think those are some things that we can do. Is there anything else you can think of?
Really, I like that one. I like your first suggestion you said earlier about the little ID badge to the restroom. Now that's
That right
actually good.
there.
Yeah.
Like,
That right there. That's gonna change a lot. That would change a lot. That
yeah,
would change a lot. But
yeah.
nah, but everything you just basically said, you basically nailed it right on the point. I think I do agree with all those three statements.
Yeah. Our surrounding areas of school, like TV screens. So the classrooms are equipped for teachers to watch surrounding area of the school. No, like in a TV surveillance camera in the class. No, we're not. We no surveillance. No, the hallways are monitored by cameras. They're only used if there's a claim being made. Like things are recorded, but if no one is reporting an assault, reporting that someone took something and it happened in the hallway, or someone hit me and it happened in the hallway, um, then that it's always being recorded, but it's not being reviewed constantly. I think our security team does some type of reviewing, but not by administrators. We so busy dealing with people,
Yeah.
we ain't sitting around just watching a video all day. Like administrators are not doing that. Teachers are not doing that. I had a threatening note one time left in my door. And so I asked the security team to kind of review in the hallway to see who put the note there. And then that's how we figured out who put the note there and who wanted to do something harm to me. But as far as us just monitoring that, nah, we too busy teaching, man. We too busy teaching. So anyhow, thank you so much, Lonnie, for visiting with me and giving me a unique perspective of males in our classroom and some of the unique things that you encounter in your day.
Yes, man.
This is the now classroom. I want to see if someone's in the front desk with a gun. Okay, so the front desk and the teacher's classroom is not the same place, but um, at yeah, it's just a lot of safety issues that you can't see other people's kids like that. Nobody's, even when things go down, administrators review the video and they don't show it to parents. It's they review it and they report what happened. um, Authorities can review it, but it's just so many dynamics with families. um, it just would not be a good thing, friend, to have cameras in the classroom and people seeing children as if they were like pets in their pet sitting room. So it's not a good thing when it comes to real life. When if you got some protective order, and certain parents aren't supposed to see certain things, then it just could be a safety issue. So, but we appreciate just hearing there could be some solutions to some things, based on, you know everybody chiming in with possible solutions to different problems. So I invite everyone to kind of give their point of view about safety in the classroom, safety in our schools. I pray that we all have a safer 2025 from here on out, especially in our schools. Our future depends on it, and so I want peace.
That's why I choose at the end of the day. I choose peace and love.
Yeah,
Those two things I offer: peace and love.
yeah, peace. And so, thank you so much for what you do every day, Lonnie. There's
Thank
not
you.
a lot of Black men in particular that do what you do, and
Hmm.
it's very much needed. Um, so I thank you so much for doing the things that you do every day, and
Thank
that
you.
teach us the best way possible.
Thank you. That's it. Before we leave, can I shout out my podcast real quick before we leave? All right. So
Oh,
on my end, I got a podcast as well too. My podcast is called Let's Make a Toast. It's with me and three of my other co-hosts. So we will be dropping some videos, probably another few weeks to a month. Y'all stay
yeah.
on top of that. Yes, ma'am. So go on YouTube. We're on YouTube, Apple Music, Spotify, all that trying to set up right now. We get all
Hmm.
our production, our marketing, all that stuff set up as well too. So once you start dropping the videos, y'all just type in "Let's Make a Toast," and like I said, just like and subscribe. Thank you.
Awesome, awesome. I just like to thank you guys for being with us today. I am looking forward to a very, very special 2025. I'm looking for more guests on the show, and I'm excited about what the year is going to bring. Thank you so much, Lonnie, for being here. And I'll see you guys in 2 weeks, okay?
Yes, ma'am. Thank you.